Lazarus and Brent Todd are the two prop forwards. Wayne Collins is going to lock them together.
Okay, reserve grade 16-13 to Canberra, and the President's Cup 28-14 to the Canberra Raiders. A southerly wind blowing down the ground. Canberra won the toss but have elected to run into it. Stand by for the final moments of the national anthem. Good crowd in this afternoon here at Caltex Field. Good Saturday crowd. Had this game been played tomorrow, you wouldn't have got into Caltex Field. It's undoubtedly the match of the round in round 4 of the Winfield Cup. You've got it coming a day earlier. Hope you enjoy it. We're going uninterrupted this afternoon thanks to Liquor Stop, Tooheys, LJ Hooker and Auto Village Holden. There always seems to be somebody kicking off here at Caltex Field. A couple of weeks ago, Shane Dye kicked off, and Shane this afternoon won the Golden Slipper on Canny Lad. So that's a good omen for the Cronulla Sharks. He's an avid Cronulla supporter, is Shane Dye, and he's kicked home Canny Lad to win the Golden Slipper in 1990. Could it be Cronulla's day this afternoon? Chicken George, Mal Meninga about to start play in what should be a heck of a game of football.
It sure should, and the fella kicking off was from Caltex, Peter, and I think he's just handed over a whopping check to the boys.
Okay, he can
on
kick
the
off then.
He sure can. Now we've got Jonathan Docking taking it, gives it straight back to Diamond. So a similar pattern in the opening seconds of this match. Cronulla now going across field. David Hatch in possession of the ball. Gets a bit of a rough up by Bell. Plays it back to Diamond. Gives it across now to Danny Staines. He falls down about 30 metres out from the Sharks goal line.
He's kidding, Bell. He roughed up David Hatch.
Yep.
Wouldn't hurt him with an axe. Bell's a skinny centre. Hatch is a whopping big lock forward. Stay up the centre, son.
The penalty now given to the Cronulla side. The man not directly in front of the man playing the football. The pass went back to Speechley, who was going to kick downfield, but now the penalty, and it's about 12 metres short of the halfway line centre field, with Andrew Eddingshausen coming across to kick for touch.
Eddingshausen, with the wind behind him here this afternoon, should get a bit of territory. Puts it into Canberra territory, around about 8 metres on the Cronulla side of the Canberra side of halfway. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Christie denoted that Canberra marker, the first bloke, the one that harasses, has been penalised straight away. That'll put them off a bit.
Yeah, it certainly will. Meninga in that position at the moment.
Spina now giving it across to Diamond once again, and he's pulled down. Will play at centre field, 32 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Back it goes to Hatch, across now out to Luke Massey. Massey wrapped up after picking up 10 metres or so and pulled down over the top by Todd. Hatch once again a dummy half-off meant for Gavin Miller. Miller has put the football down. It's been towed through. Very quickly picked up now by Gary Belcher. He tries to beat. Hatch does so. Hatch catches up from behind, eventually pulling him down inside the Canberra quarter line. Plays it now to Ricky Stewart across to Bradley Clyde. Hits it up strongly. Speechley over the top. A third man arriving on the scene too. He didn't do any damage, but it was David Hatch. Collins giving it across this time into the arms of Lazarus. He's knocked to the ground. Gets up once again to play it. He gives it out. Sorry, it was Todd. Now it's out to Lazarus. He's wrapped up 32 metres out from the line. Collins at dummy half. He's got Coyne with him. Elects to kick downfield. I've got them all on side. Docking allows it to bounce past him back into his own quarter to pick it up. He's got support out wide with him. But he's effectively held on the far side of the ground, 28 metres out from his own goal line. It's played now, goes across into the arms of Mark McGaw. He straightens up the attack and is knocked down 30 metres out from his own goal line.
A lot more intensity in the Canberra tackling than there was in the early stages of last week's game against Canterbury Bankstown. Cronulla now 40 metres out from their own goal line. Wind behind them. They need to have their Sharks' nose in front. The Hammerheads need to be in front at half-time to win this game of football.
Danny Staines down, up now to play the ball back to Spina, down the blind side to Gavin Miller, steps away from one, has a look out wide, gets his pass two, across to Alan Wilson. Wilson trying to offload back inside, couldn't get his arms free. Brent Todd over the top of him. Now it's going to be played to Danny Lee. He sends a long pass once again to Speechley. Nice little chip kick up over the top. Gary Belcher stops it on the foot in the in goal, manages to pick it up, comes out into the field, played 10 metres or so, and the Sharkies up there in swarms.
Well, Gary Belcher last week was very, very reluctant to take the bouncing ball in the in goal. He hopped onto that one straight away, took it on the foot. There's a lot more, as I said, a lot more intensity about this Canberra side this afternoon as they attempt to get back onto the winning ledger in the Winfield Cup. 0-0 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard after 3 minutes of play. Kick downfield by Ricky Stewart. He's put out a play, but the referee had his back turned. No touch judge in. Fair enough, it was deemed to be.
Yes, and beautifully picked up too by Docking. Now Coyne can't get to him. He's a good step, comes inside, beats Collins. Had a look wide to offload, but eventually pulled down by Todd. It's played back to Hatch, out to Gavin Miller again. Miller tries to keep it alive. He can't get his pass away as Bradley glides over the top of him. The Sharkies in possession on the halfway line. Hatch across now to Denny Lee charging forward. Beautifully tackled down low that time. A fine hit it was to My Coin. It's played to Hatch once again. Goes across now to Laurie Spooner. He elects to run Collins. A diving tackle brings him down. He's only picked up 2 metres or so. Plays it back now to David Hatch. Gives it across to Dan Staines again. And another fine tackle by Bradley Clyde down low. Pulls him to ground. 40 metres out from the line. Hatch running away from the back of the ruck. But a penalty given to the Cronulla side. Yeah, and it was against Ricky Stewart offside.
Ricky Stewart offside in the play the ball. That's 2 penalties in the game so far for offside in the play the ball by the Canberra side. They're using 2 markers, and one of them is being deemed to be offside in the play the ball. Meninga asking the question, and the referee giving a clear indication there of what it's for. Eddie Ward. That's the second penalty for that infringement in this game of football so far, and we've only been into it for 4.5 minutes. Wilson in front, 40 metres out with the wind behind him. Shouldn't have a lot of problems with distance. Direction, maybe. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, that marker rule's rattled them up. Notice Cronulla running just 1 solitary pass, but that marker's been caught for harassing. A second penalty. That'll put them right off.
Okay, so there it is from Tony McGay, the sideline eye there. Eddie Ward, the referee. Alan Wilson, has he brought his kicking boots today? When he's on, he is hot. When he's not, fair dinkum freezing.
Yeah, the rot sets in all right, but we'll see how he goes now. He's 40-odd metres out, just off the centre of the ground. As Zorba said,
he's a leading point scorer in the Winfield Cup with 36 points and most goals too with 16. So he's doing something right, but as I said, hot.
Not freezing.
Yeah.
Okay, right on that 40-metre line as he comes in now.
Is he hot?
Distance will be no problem. Well, he's put it up very nicely. Thank you. Waved away. Gone to the right-hand side.
As I said, distance would be no problem, Greg. It was direction. It cleared the dead ball line on the full. It was a, well, he could have taken it back to the halfway mark for distance, but most certainly direction off, just straight to the right-hand side of the upright. There's the line drop out by Ricky Stewart into the breeze, into the wind, and it goes right down to the Cronulla quarter line.
Nogging takes it, gives it back now to Wilson, who comes across toward the centre of the ground. Steps away from one, and again left for Daly to take him over the top with Wayne Collins down below. Gets up there to play it back to David Hatch. Gives it across now to Diamond, wanting to prove a point to Tim Sheens that he can play. Gets up there to play it back to Hatch. Gives it across now to Danny Lee. Daly comes in. Strong tackling from Laurie Daly, the 5'8" this afternoon from the Raiders, as he's knocked down over the halfway line. Hatch sends it back centre field to Gavin Miller. Picks up McGaw going through the gap. Had Speechley in support. Couldn't get his pass away. Plays it once again, this time to Massey. Gives it out now to Gavin Miller. He pops up a pass far too hard. Gone to ground. Knock on both ways, says Ward. Scrum to go down 38 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
Well, Cronulla have had most of the football in the opening 6 minutes of play, but Canberra's defence has been very, very good. David Hatch going to dummy half again for Cronulla today, and it's certainly working good. They're looking good out of that area. Canberra have got the football now. Let's see which one of their 2 hookers in the pack goes dummy half. Well, neither off that first one, and there's Lazarus, who did all the work last week. We're going to see a bit from Todd and the others today. Let's wait and see.
Well, Collins now that time at dummy half, and Daly was the first one. That's tackled too. Collins pulled down just short of the halfway line. Back it goes now to Walters, so they're having it in turns. A kick from general play. We're going to have a scrum down. I didn't think it would have affected the run of play, but the referee disagrees with Hartley. He's going to put a scrum down 5 metres over the halfway line in Sharky territory.
Well, Canberra lose the advantage there. They kicked it, and they lose the advantage. Of course, it's got to be a scrum feed to the defending side.
Yes.
I don't think it should have been. Well, he's given it back now to Ricky Stewart.
Yeah,
so
the referee told him
Beautiful rules, Gordon.
Yeah, the referee told him to. He did remind him. Meninga now gives it out wide to Bell, the speedster. But Bell is pulled down 30 metres out from the Cronulla goal line. Wide by Wilson. Back now it goes to Big Bell Meninga. Chicken George has knocked on. Referee is right on the ball too this afternoon, Eddie Ward. So another scrum will go down just outside the Sharks quarter line. Laurie Spinner to come up and work it for the Cronulla side.
Well, Meninga, who didn't get in the game last week, very much for him, and he is a great player. Let's not pull any punches there. He is great, Great, and I mean it. But today he wants to get into the game. He went into the forwards there, trying to inspire his forwards and get himself going, and he's dropped the ball in a good attacking position, and he was patted on the back by Ricky Stewart, who said, don't worry about it, let's get into this. So the intensity is there for Canberra today.
Hatch now getting up to play it back to Docking, goes across to Gavin Miller again, comes off the right foot, has a look back, picks up Danny Lee. Lee takes off for a bit of a run downfield, but then eventually he's knocked down by Bell over the top. Hatch once again in possession as it goes across to Gavin Miller, and again Bell comes in high to take him. Nothing wrong with that tackle whatsoever. He's up the play at the Hatch, gives it across now to Massey. Massey going toward the centre of the ground. 1 tackle left to go. 8 short of the halfway line, still in Sharky territory. Hatch fires one back now to Michael Speechley, puts a high torpedo kick up. It's a good-looking kick, bounces on 3 occasions now, picked up this time by Gary Belcher. He dummies, had support too with Martin, decides against offloading, and he's pulled down just outside his own quarter line.
Interesting to see Canberra formation there. Stewart was back, Belcher was back, and so was Ferguson. They had 3 players back there waiting for the Speechley kick.
Now we've got Todd going forward, and as Peter pointed out on many occasions last week, has put a lot of ball to ground, but not that time. He's up the play at to Collins, gives it across now to Walters. Walters picks up a valuable 10 metres or so before being pulled down 9 short of the halfway line. Allowed to play it back to Collins, gives it out to Coyne, across to Martin, in an impossible position, I might add. It was a silly pass, and he's knocked the ground. Gets up quickly to play it once again to Bell to Stewart. Stewart gets a kick in downfield, straight behind Johnny Davidson, through Laurie Spooner, and finds touch 32 metres out from the Cronulla goal line.
10 minutes gone of a very interesting game of football at Caldex Field. No score at the moment. 1 lost opportunity for Cronulla with a shot at goal. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, trench warfare. They haven't tried to open it up much, just slogging. Canberra playing safe, trying to offset those mistakes from last week.
Okay, it certainly is a very interesting game of football. Scrum win to the Sharks.
Out to Speechley, given on to John Davidson in from the wing position. He's knocked down 35 out from his own goal line. It's Hatch to Staines. Staines looks wide, decides to go on his own, has a second look back, but Daly going through, pulls Jonathan docking to ground. Illegal interference to the men, not in possession of the ball. Penalty, and rightly so too. 8 metres over the halfway line to the Cronulla Sharks.
But a very eager Canberra, and they've conceded 3 penalties to 0 against the best disciplined side in the Winfield Cup, and you just can't afford to give Cronulla a head start. A beautiful Australian Airlines jet just above us here at Caltex Field. Greg and I won't fly any other airline.
We won't now. Hatch with the free kick, gives it back to Danny Lee.
Unless we go OS.
Lee charging, and we only go Qantas that way too. Up now it's played, and various other airlines too.
I'll go Continental.
Okay, will you? Will you take me?
No.
I'll go Continental if
it's
you go.
Only a jumbo.
Okay, it's back now to Spina. Spina has a look, gives it back to Big Diamond going through, and he's knocked to the ground 30 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Once again, Jonathan Docking gives it across this time to Dan Staines, again charging forward. Good tackling from Lazarus down low. He plays it to Hatch again. Hatch a long pass across to Danny Lee. Didn't look for support that time. They've got 1 left to go. They're a shade over the Canberra quarter line. Hatch dummy half once again across to Eddingshausen. He puts a high kick up. They're all coming through. It's going to be far too hard, and it's taken. Now, was he out, Peter? He was, back to the quarter.
Yeah, I think it just went over the dead ball line, but Belcher took it just the same. Took it very easily too. Cronulla do put their bombs very, very high. That had ice on it. As a matter of fact, that Australian Airline jet just ducked to the left there a bit just to get out of the way.
There's the tap by Collins. He gives it straight back now into the arms of Todd. Todd knocked to the ground. Will get up and play it back to Collins. He's going to offload to Lazarus. Lazarus charging forward. Lee's over the top of him.
Good forward, Lazarus.
Yeah, good company too he was with Gavin Miller in the defence. Now it's Coyne charging forward. But he's got now Cronulla inside the 5. Had a choice of Diamond, Staines and possibly Spina. Penalty now to Canberra. They're back in their own side of the halfway line, a metre or so. Ricky Stewart comes up to mark the ground, and he will kick for touch.
Mal Meninga looking to the sideline there for, I don't know whether it's some signal or the numbers from Tim Sheens, but looking long and hard there. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Yeah, just see Ricky Stewart just looking at the taping on his wrist there. They've got a planned move on. They were checking to the side for the signal.
Okay, so checking for the numbers, and they got something on here. Collins to dummy half.
Back it goes to Stewart, out wide now to Todd, charging forward. That's a better run, but he has coughed up possession once again, and the advantage gone to the Sharks. Getting up the play at Michael Speechley to Hatch, sends it across now out to Danny Lee. Lee straightens up the attack. Lazarus in, down around the legs to knock him to ground. We'll play it once again to Hatch. He's got a choice. I think Diamond's going to cop this one. He does now, charging forward. And Walters is there to stand his ground once again. He's pulled down 32 metres out from his own goal line as he plays it to Hatch. Gives it back now to Gavin Miller to Spina. Spina wrapped up too beautifully. 12 short of the halfway line. Still in Cronulla territory. Hatchet dummy half across to Gavin Miller again. Out it goes to Staines. He's coughed up possession. Coyne dives on it for the Raiders, giving them possession 8 metres over the halfway line.
Both sides handling, letting them down at the moment. Here's Meninga. Didn't run a lot last week. Giving it to Belcher. Inside to the wing three-quarter in Paul Martin.
Yeah, and Martin immediately knocked down by McGaw. Now it's back to Bell. Off a pass from Mal Meninga. He's about 15 metres over the halfway line in Canberra territory. It goes across once out to Ricky Stewart. He gives it back to Walters again. and Wallace is knocked to the ground. Collins at dummy half. He fires it across this time to Stewart again. Bypasses Coyne, has a look out wide. He gives it across now to Ferguson. He's a slippery customer, steps away from one, tries to get around another, but Gavin Miller's got him well and truly knocked to the ground. One tackle left to go.
Bit of experience there, Gavin Miller tackling Chicka Ferguson like about 30 years experience.
A high kick now put up by Ricky Stewart. Knocked back, and it's going to be, what's he doing? Change of possession to Cronulla.
Yeah, change over of possession. Cronulla playing the ball quickly is Docking.
Yes, it goes across to Staines. Staines now going to be wrapped up to just inside his own quarter line.
0-0 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard after 14 minutes of rugged rugby league here at Caldex Field. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Hasn't improved much, Brent. Todd lost the ball on the first tackle again.
I thought you might notice that. I've marked it down as well.
Luke Massey in possession. Will now play it back to David Hatch. Goes across now. It was meant for Speechley or Spina. Have you picked? Diamond manages to pick it up. Tries to charge forward, but he's knocked down on the Sharks quarter. We'll play it centre field back to Michael Speechley. Again, the options for him. He kicks downfield. Not a bad looking kick either. Gee whiz. Oh, it is a rip snorter, I'm here to tell you. A beautiful kick down inside the Canberra quarter line as the red flag goes up right on the 22.
Yeah, and I dare say that Cronulla would be saying, well, that was all too easily, and Ricky Stewart will be doing that to us in the second half. Thus, Cronulla really have to get some points on the board in this first half, because that is a very, very handy wind that's blowing here at Caldex Field this afternoon.
Sure is. 0-0 on the scoreboard. Cronulla Sharks against the Canberra Raiders, fed by Stewart now. Raiders will win this one, picked up by Stewart, tries to get around Spina, manages to do that. Head-on confrontation with Diamond too as Stewart goes to ground. Plays it now to Paul Martin, across now to Clyde. Clyde makes a bit of a gallop downfield. He picks up a metre or so too for his side as he gets up the play to Collins. Gives it out now to Brent Todd again. Oh, his legs are cut from under him by Danny Staines.
But he held on to it.
Beautiful. Goes across now to Stewart, out now wide to Lazarus, and Lazarus has got his legs chopped from under him once again by Michael Speechley. Back it goes to Wallace, to Ricky Stewart. He gets his kick downfield too. But Docking slips, has to go back for it. Plenty of cover up there too. Daly out wide, Clyde and Mal Meninga in for the kill. And boy, he put him down too. But the little bloke gets up the play at Docking to his credit. Back now to Davidson for a bit of a gallop. He's knocked down too by Mal Meninga around the legs with Martin over the top. We'll play it to Hatch. Decides to run from the back of the ruck. A few turned there back then too. Penalty to the Cronulla side. And it's given 31 metres out from the Cronulla goal line.
Yeah, and the penalties are 4-1 in this game of football now. 4-1 to the Cronulla side. That's an advantage that Canberra continue to give this Cronulla side. Eddingshausen uses the wind, finds the sideline now, 10 metres on the Canberra side of halfway.
Well, the free kick to be taken once again by David Hatch. He does so. He gives it across to Spina. Out now to Davidson, who juggles the football. Then he's going to be knocked to the ground. We'll get up and play it once again. He's about 28 metres out from the line. Gives it across now to Luke Massey. Massey charging forward, but he's pulled down now. We'll get up to play it once again. David Hatch looking to the blind side, elects to go across, but he gives it back to Danny Lee coming toward the centre of the ground. He's easily picked off that time by Coyne and pulled to ground. Hatch once again a dummy half. He passes off now to Diamond, and Diamond's knocked down 24 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
Well, Cronulla aren't running with the same enthusiasm that we saw them play against South Sydney. Nobody running straight onto the ball, and it's shown that they're not following Miller through the rucks this afternoon. An ordinary display so far by normally a very good pack of forwards. 0-0 on that Mitsubishi scoreboard. We've had now 17 minutes of play.
Oh, John Davidson has put up a kick. I've got the whole line of Cronulla players offside. Ferguson taking it on the far side. Can't get away, but gets a good pass back to Belcher. There's a man out wide. Belcher comes back inside, tries to straighten up play, but eventually he is knocked to the ground. He plays it now to Ferguson from the back of the ruck. He scoots away, but he's caught up by Hatch. Hatch gets off him. He's up the play back to Collins. He has a look, decides to go on his own. Off the boot said Eddie Ward. That was a good ruling from the referee as Wayne Collins will get up the play at 32 out from his own line. Back it goes now to Ricky Stewart off the pass from Daly. Daly's kick downfield is a good one. It's picked up by Jonathan Docking back in his own quarter line. He goes across toward the centre of the ground, but a beautiful tackle brings him down, and it was a rip snorter by Bradley Clyde. Now Wilson's turn. Daly's got hold of Wilson by one arm, and he drags him to the ground 32 metres out from the Cronulla goal line. We'll get up the play again back to David Hatch. Gives it across to Diamond, and Diamond going to be wrapped up centre field 35 metres out from the Cronulla goal line. Massey from the back of the ruck. Across now to Spina. Tries to find a gap. but he closes up quickly and he's knocked down now some 8 metres short of the halfway line. Good strong tackle too by Coyne. Speechley getting his kick downfield. It's going to go way down, and it goes over the touchline. Darn good kick, 12 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
Good kick by Michael Speechley. Gee, we've seen precious little from Mark McGaw and Andrew Eddingshausen early in this game. I would have thought that they would have been the two that Cronulla would have been playing to in this game, but this afternoon, so far, very little from those two classy centres.
Well, we've got this scrum to go down some 14 metres out from the Canberra goal line to be fed by Ricky Stewart. And they've won the scrum. Straight out now it goes to Belcher up in the line. He's got Daly with him. He receives the ball now. Big Mal Meninga out wide. Dummies to him. Goes around, picks up Bell. Plenty of pace. Steps away from one. Gives it back now to Ferguson. Coming toward the centre of the ground. But knocked down some 24 metres out from the line. Meninga at dummy half across now to Lazarus. Lazarus manages to pick up about 15 metres or so. 35 out from the Canberra goal line. And knocked to the ground in a strong tackle by Danny Lee. Coyne charging forward into the fray. And he's pulled down now 38 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
Still no score after 20 minutes of play here at Caldex Field. 0-0 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard between the Sharks and, of course, the Canberra Raiders. 0-0, the Green Machine and the Sharks, and a good game of football. But Cronulla not using this wind to the advantage that I'm sure Alan Fitzgibbon would have liked them to do. Here's Lee knocking on, and Cronulla, can Canberra turn this into something?
Yes, Daly picked it up beautifully. It's gone across to Mal Meninga. The big man goes forward, charging forward, still going. 5 metres away from the Cronulla goal line. Now, Paul Mutton's the dummy half. He's got a full line across field. It goes to Ricky Stewart. A cut out pass to Bradley Clyde. Clyde charging forward, but again he falls short of the line some 5 metres.
Oh, as Canberra get it out to the left, they've got to score. They've got numbers on to the left.
Back it goes now to Collins across to Ricky Stewart. Lazarus out there in the back line. What the heck he's doing there? I don't know. And he's easy meat for the defence of Danny Staines.
It's still on.
He plays it wide once again. It goes right out to Belcher. Belcher picks up. Oh, it's knocked to the ground, would you believe, by Markville. And Cronulla gaining possession of the ball. Eddingshausen tries to take off, but he's pulled down inside his own quarter line.
Well, that was a golden opportunity there for the Canberra Raiders, and they didn't take advantage of it. An excellent opportunity, and they didn't go on with it.
Well, we've got Cronulla in possession. Danny Staines plays it back now. It goes to Big Danny Lee going forward off a Gavin Miller pass from the back of the ruck, but he can't pick up many yards on that occasion. It's played now to Hatch, gives it across to Diamond again. Diamond was going to offload, couldn't get his pass away as Clyde came in to stop the rot. Now it's gone across to Hatch, out wide to Massey. Massey pulled down 5 in from touch, 35 out from his own goal line. Getting up the play to Davidson. Davidson gives it back to Speechley. Speechley a long pass across to Docking, and Docking now gets his kick downfield. And I've got 5 or 6 Cronulla players offside, and they're all on now because it's been touched by Gary Belcher. Shows it to one, tries to go through the gap, but good strong defence that time from Mark McGaw, who was first man into the hit, pulls him down. Now it's Martin's turn to go wide, and the defence very strong once again from Cronulla. Martin pulled down 28 metres out from his own line. Wayne Collins from the back of the ruck tries to pick up an extra few yards, but he's pulled down too. It's played once again back to Martin, gives it out to Bradley Clyde. Clyde finds an opening in the Cronulla defence. They're starting to open up just a little bit, but he's pulled down just short of the halfway line. Wayne Collins at dummy half, back to Ricky Stewart. He's kicked downfield far too hard, over the touchline on the full.
I think Ricky Stewart kicked it at a Cronulla player there in Mark McGaw, but McGaw ducked, and it went over his head and out on the full, and a scrum will go down on the halfway mark. Good busting run by Bradley Clyde, which indicated, you mentioned it, Greg, that Cronulla opening up a little bit. I think the Sharks are struggling at this moment. They've had a lot of possession and haven't really made any inroads in this defence. Oh, there's McGaw getting away from Mal Meninga. You don't see that too often.
No, you don't. He just stepped around him, just that waxed a little yard of pace, but now it's Wilson on the far side too. I thought he was going to step under that tackle, but it was too strong by Walters. Back now it goes to Docking, across to Gavin Miller. Tries to link up out wide, gives a good pass to Diamond, goes without the football. The referee says we have to play that knock on. Scrum will go down 40 metres out centre field from the Canberra goal line.
Okay, and I think the first knock on was from the Canberra side. I think it was pulled out of a Cronulla player. It should be a Cronulla feed if the referee has seen that the same way I have.
Spina's picked it up, you're probably right. We've got a touch in on that far side. It's against Bell, has been called up with his captain Mal Meninga. to answer whatever the touch judge has got to say.
Okay, well, young fellow trying to make an impression this afternoon is Mark Bell. He's certainly got plenty of fire and brimstone about him, but right at this moment he's just getting a little talking to by referee Eddie Ward on the advice of the touch judge. The scrum will go down, and it should be a Cronulla feed. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, Canberra playing as though they just want to hold the fort against this wind in the first half and then let it do the job for them in the second.
Yeah, and not bad tactics either, Tony. Cronulla have to score in the remaining 16 minutes of this half. Speechley out wide.
Yes, a good pass out to McGaw, who's opening them up more, and he tried to take a few of them on too when he dropped the shoulder. But to no avail, he was stopped in his tracks by Todd and company. Clyde was in the tackle too, but Hatch gives it to Miller. Goes without the ball, and Daly picks it up, gives it out wide now. It goes out to Ferguson. Ferguson can't get around a diving tackle who forces him over the touchline on the far side by young Alan Wilson. Boy, you've got to be proud of that tackle, son.
Well, it was a great tackle, and he had to make it because Ferguson was off for the prize. Wilson just got hold of him by one leg and put him out. I think Chicker thought he was gone. I think Chicker thought he was through and off for the prize. One of the great sights in rugby league is John Ferguson racing 50 metres to score, but not on that occasion. Scrum win to Cronulla, but the penalty's gone to Canberra.
Well, he's got him. I want to see the signal. If he's got him for a second row pinch, that stinks, Eddie. That's the second row feed. Well, I don't believe that.
Well, that's a joke.
That is an absolute joke, Eddie.
Yeah, that is a ridiculous penalty. I mean,
been going on all bloody day, and you pick up someone for that, that's an absolute joke. They ought to stick that.
Yeah, well, that's a silly ruling. I mean, it's just not consistent. We won't see that again for the rest of the game, and that does stink. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, it certainly does. We haven't seen a scrum pinch for about 3 years, have we?
No, well, that's a rarity in rugby league. 25 minutes into the game, a second row pinch for a feed. Strike me. We've seen it put behind the lock.
Okay, we've got Canberra in possession of the football now, playing at Brent Todd. Back it goes to Collins. Back down the blind side to Daly. De Lazarus standing deep. But they woke up to that one. Lazarus carries the football into the Cronulla quarter. Asked to call on it to play it. He does back to Collins. Collins going forward. Hatch is there, well and truly offside. I can't condone that one, but it's a penalty now to the Canberra side. 15 metres out from the Cronulla goal line, and he was dead set offside.
Well, two very quick penalties have got Canberra up the right end of the field, and Meninga will have a shot at goal. All I can say about Eddie Ward is he comes from Brisbane.
He's been refereeing pretty well up until that stage, Peter.
Yeah,
He's done a few good things, and we both know it, but that was a stupid penalty. It can't be condoned.
No, it certainly can't. It just makes you wonder. That's what it does, Greg. And
It sure does.
I don't like that sort of feeling.
Okay, we've got this penalty to be taken big by Mal Meninga. As I said, 15 metres out. He's 20 in from touch on the club side here at Caldex Field. And
he should put this one over, and it'll be a good lead to Canberra because they're playing into this strong breeze, and it's a 6 to 8 pointer. And Cronulla have got sweet nothing. And if Meninga can put Canberra in front and they hang on till half-time, well, they're looking pretty good.
Well, he's got big match experience, hasn't he? And he sure has. He's got ice blocks in his veins.
He won't be worrying about this, and he'll put this one over. Don't worry about that.
Okay, as I said, 15 metres out, but you've said a lot of them go to jelly on occasions. He has missed it. He has pushed it across to the right-hand side.
I told you he'd miss it.
Much to the disgust of Peter, who said he would kick it. But
I said he'd miss it.
But there you go.
Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, I know it looked easy, but this wind is very brisk, straight across. A lot of blokes have missed them from there before at this joint.
Okay.
I knew that.
Certainly have. Okay, here's the dropout by Andrew Eddingshausen. Long one, taken beautifully by Belcher on his own quarter. He's got a free run up to the 10-metre mark in his own territory.
Yeah.
So he made a quick 30 metres there.
Yeah, good 30, Peter. Now it's all Bradley Clyde carries the leather right down into Sharky territory again on tackle too. Up the play it to Collins. Wide it goes out now to Wallace. Dummies nearly through the gap. Desperation tackle by Laurie Spina to bring him down. Plays it back to Collins again. Gives it out to Ricky Stewart. Stewart drops it off the end of the toe. Awkward bounce forward, Docking. Beautifully takes it. Cool customer, this little bloke. Steps and weaves. Collins is there to pull him down, and eventually Daly does another job on him. And Daly knew he was going to get pinched for that when he pushed him down. He threw his head back before even the whistle got into Ward's gob.
Well, Meninga is starting to talk to his side, and well he might, because every time Canberra get Cronulla in trouble, they're giving away a silly penalty in the play the ball. That's the second one from young Daly this afternoon. He's too good a player. All it is just wanting to get into the game. Eddinghausen's taken a tap.
But can you believe he didn't take the kick? He would have been up there with his kick with the wind behind him. He took the tap from centre field. It goes across now Danny Staines. You try and work that one out,
Well, they're
Pete.
trying to do something different, obviously. And right at the moment, they've got this Canberra defence scattered a little bit.
Gone now back to Spina. Spina pulled down 30 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Getting up to play the ball back to Michael Speechley. Speechley looks for Massey. He charges forward too. Steps away from one. Got a pass away to Diamond. Diamond holds it up, but it pushes it straight in to the arms of Daly. So Canberra get off the hook on that occasion as Daly gets up to play it to Collins. Gives it across to Coyne. He'll charge forward, trying to have a settler there, and he does up to his own quarter line. 11
minutes remaining in the first half. Still no score here at Caldex Field. 0-0 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. Unusual to see two teams of the potent scoring ability of these two outfits, and no score this afternoon.
The ball being knocked down, and knockback says Ward. It's a fair ruling. Meninga was behind him, and he picked it up. It's played now to Ferguson. Ferguson takes off down the centre of the ground. A good tackle by Speechley, stops him up to try and go again, but a quick play the ball to Collins. Gives it out to Stewart. Stewart now kicks downfield too. Docking around to Chase, but he will take possession 10 metres out from his own line. Goes for a good jog across field. Daly comes at him from behind, and he's scrambled 25 metres out from his own goal line. Will play it now to Wilson, can either run or offload back inside. It goes to McGaw, and Sparkles McGaw puts his head down, his bum up, and charges straight into the tackle of Coyne. It's played now back, it goes to Wilson. Wilson gains a very valuable 15 metres or so, carrying the leather right up to the halfway line.
Well, a market offensive, both sides a little bit off this afternoon. Both sides making frequent busts from dummy half. That's been the main attacking ploy so far. Nip and tuck, 0-0 here at Caldex Field. Diamond, a good bust. I gave the pass, he was tackled without the football.
Yes, by Bell. No risk in the world through the gap. Fed on to Davidson, who was hit prior to getting possession of the ball, and the penalty goes to Cronulla.
Well, that's a sin bin offence for mine, tackling a player without possession of the football, and yet the sin bin not being used for what it is intended. That is a dead set sin bin offence, is it not?
You asking me?
Yes.
It is so.
Okay, sideline I
hate
him
agreeing
again.
with you.
Well, certainly could have binned him. He's got to pull his head in, young Bell. That's the third penalty. He's done a few silly things.
Yeah, he certainly has. Third penalty against that young fellow this afternoon. But that is what the sin bin is for indiscretions like that. And yet they tend to want to only use it for a penalty a few metres out when somebody doesn't allow a player to play the ball quickly. It's the only time you see it used.
Yeah, and it's not used properly in that situation either, just quietly. But I don't want to get into another argument with Johnny Quayle about that. We'll talk about that over a drink. Common sense will prevail. But this penalty kick...
The common sense prevail over drink with you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding.
Mate, if you're on the Tyrrells and it's good stuff, mate, you never get a headache.
You know what happened in America when they gave whiskey to the Indians?
Yeah?
Yeah, well, you're worse than me.
38 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
He's got to get...
I can deal with the Tooheys draft now, Zorb. Can you check the fridge?
Yeah, I'll check it. There's nothing there. Okay, Wilson, really, the distance, no worries here.
38 metres out, as I said, some 20 metres in from touch. We've got Wilson now to try and see if he can get this kick high enough. Oh, it's looking good. He's got it. He's got it right between the dot, boy.
1 out of 2 for Alan Wilson, and the Sharks take the lead of 2 points to 0, but I don't think it's enough with this wind. They would have wanted more than that. There's 8 minutes remaining, 32 minutes of the game to get points on the board. A penalty goal by Alan Wilson, and a good one. Cronulla 2 lead Canberra 0 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. As he was lining up that shot at goal, the Canberra trainer was on the field talking to Meninga, and he was really walking around a little bit too much for mine. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Yeah, I wonder if he's ready. He can just takes his time, stroll around. He's kidding, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is. He looked as though he was on a Sunday afternoon walk.
Okay, Cronulla in possession. Docking giving it across to Danny Lee. That won't go miss. Don't you worry about that. They'll be...
well, Eric Cox should tell him at half-time.
Well, the touch judges probably will too.
Yeah.
So we've got now Luke Massey charging forward for Cronulla. 35 metres out from the Sharkies goal line. Back it goes to David Hatch. He gives it out to Danny Staines, who meets a man head on. And it was a strong tackle by Bradley Clyde to pull him down.
Great tackle that, Greg.
It
Beautiful
sure was.
tackle by Bradley Clyde. He's a heck of a young player. And today he's running well and tackling well. Back in good form as that young fellow.
Hatch now across to Michael Speechley, gets his kick in downfield, and it's going to be easy for Belcher. Oh, and nearly rolled off his arm, but he manages to take it. He gives it back down to Martin, who was in support. Martin comes back. 3 of the Sharks catch up with him. He tries to go to ground, eventually does that too. 11 metres out from his own goal line, plays to Belcher, back to Meninga. Belcher on the wraparound, and he is looked after too by Danny Staines, 10 metres out. They're getting bustle now, the Green Machine. and not well oiled this afternoon, I'm here to tell you, as we see Walters go to ground. Collins at dummy half. He gives it across to Brent Todd. Todd well and truly wrapped up too that time by Michael Speechley. He plays it to Collins again, realising he's got to get out of that 22-metre area. He kicks downfield, bounces off the chest of Jonathan Docking, turns now to go up over the halfway line, steps one, looks for some gaps, but Wayne Collins is there to finish him off 40 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
Playing well, Docking. He left none other than Bradley Clyde. I was giving him a rap a few moments ago, but Docking left him clutching at mid-air. Cronulla with a very important 6 minutes now. They're only 2-0 in front. It's a win that they would have hoped for more, and 6 minutes remaining in the first half. 2-0 on the Mitsubishi scoreboard in favour of Cronulla.
Spina across to Miller. Spina on the wrap around, looking to find the gap. He's through too. He's got pace too, Spina, but he's going to be caught up too from behind. And he now is going to get up and play the ball. It's back to Speechley, gives it to Eddingshausen, charging forward. But again, too strong the defence of Canberra. One tackle left to go. 4 metres out from the line. Speechley at dummy half. He kicks across the line. It's going to be made dead in the in-goal area by a Canberra player. I believe it was Gary Belcher. We've got the people standing up in front of me here, but it was Belcher getting a hand to it.
Well, that was a kick through, ricocheted off a Canberra player. It was there for the taking for Cronulla, but no try eventuating, but good work by Cronulla side. G. Spina was off for the prize. Big gap there and a simple run around with Gavin Miller, and the former Eastern Suburbs North Sydney halfback looked home for the prize, and that would have been the lead that Cronulla would have sought in this first half. There's the restart of play taken by Magor. Gives it to Alan Wilson, who's having a great game.
Sure is. He goes up and he is eventually knocked to the ground by Todd. Will get up to play the ball. Also Walters in there to Eddingshausen. He gives it across now out to Hatch. He throws a dreadful pass for Wilson. It's gone forward. Now no way in the world Wilson could have got to that, but gee.
It was a silly pass by David Hatch.
It was a silly pass, Peter. But Eddingshausen's got to do a little bit more, Peter. He's not getting involved enough. He's just got so much pace and ability, young Andrew.
Well, there
should
have been some support there for the halfback. That's there's plenty of players with pace out there that should have been with him. Scrum went to Canberra.
Back again.
I don't think that went to the centre.
Out to Meninga. Meninga just fends off one. Still going. Hatch is trying to handle him. He gives it across to Daly. Daly stops. Hatch has another go at him. Back it goes to Clyde. And he's knocked to the ground by Speechley.
Yeah, you don't have to look when you see a player go down like that. It was a beautiful bootlace tackle by Michael Speechley.
Sure
it
was.
is 2-0 in favour of Cronulla over Canberra. The Raiders coming on strongly.
Oh, Daly now. Oh, he's copped up possession. Manages to regain, forcing another scrum 5 metres over the halfway line.
Well, both sides are really playing this game like it is a grand final. It is very, very intense. The defence of both sides is bone shaking.
Well, the scrum to go down. I'm interested in to see what the referee's going to do. Spina's feet again.
You know, that wasn't in the centre, but he didn't care.
He didn't. Goes across to Speechley to Docking. Docking trying to go past Daly, but Daly's got him well and truly, and he's pulled down just short of the halfway line. Plays it now to Andrew Eddingshausen. He has a look across field, sucking the air into Andrew. Through the gap. There he goes. The head's back, but he's caught up to by Ricky Stewart just outside the Canberra quarter line.
Once again, no support for the player through the gap.
Gavin Miller turns the ball back into Luke Massey. Massey charges forward, and again he's knocked to the ground inside the Canberra quarter line.
3 minutes remaining in the first half. 2-0 Cronulla.
Lee, big Danny Lee. Oh, Lee is coughed up possession, picked up by Diamond going through. So now the feed to Ricky Stewart, the scrum to go down 12 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
A lot of spilt ball in the first half from both teams, but it's still a very exciting game of rugby league, and it's certainly keeping the fans. Good Saturday crowd at Caltex Field on the edge of their seats. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Two great opportunities for the Sharks, Spooner and Eddingshausen, but unfortunately no try, and they may regret it.
Yeah, they may regret it. I dare say if Canberra make a break, they will have support.
Okay, 2-0 in favour of Cronulla over the Canberra side with the young man Bradley Clyde. Big future in front of him. Can't get outside his own quarter line. Pulled down in a good strong tackle by Hatch. Up now to play it to Collins. Across it goes now to Walters. Walters tries to straighten up. Gets through one. Has a look too, but then Lee is there to knock him to ground. He plays it back to Collins again from the back of the ruck. Can't step away. Once again from Danny Lee up over the top in company with his captain Hatch. Back it goes to Walters. Across to Ricky Stewart. Out wide to Daly. Daly puts one high for Mal Meninga. Laurie Spina gets him, but he turns it back to Martin. And Martin pulled down now 40 metres out from the Canberra goal line.
Last tackle.
Clyde at dummy half across to Stewart again. He gets his kick in and he nearly scrambles one of the cameramen. On the full it went to, over the touchline.
Yeah, certainly did. There's no doubt about that. It's a changeover of possession, and this is the last opportunity for Cronulla in the first half. 2 minutes remaining. Space out wide.
Out it goes to Speechley to Jonathan Docking. Turns it inside to Eddingshausen. Back it goes now to Speechley. Across to Gavin Miller to Spina. Spina through the gap once again. Oh, but he has bone crunched there. A beautiful tackle by Ricky Stewart. Johnny Davidson across now to Gavin Miller. Back it goes now to Dan Staines. And Staines is knocked to the ground. It's played to Hatch again. He gives it out to Danny Lee, wanting to take them on. Tries to go over the top like a big bulldozer. But again, he's pulled down 8 metres short of the line now. David Hatch gives it across to Spina, out wide now to Speechley. Speechley turns it back to Eddinghausen. Bounds up 1 or 2, but still finds himself a metre short of the goal line. Up the play it. Jonathan Docking now a dummy half. He has a look across field. What's he going to do? He fires one across to McGraw. Out wide it goes now to Wilson, but he can only stumble and go to ground. One tackle left to go. It's played now to Miller. He kicks back into the in-goal area. Made dead once again by Gary Belcher for the Canberra side. Goal line dropout.
Well, Canberra hanging on with only seconds remaining in the first half. They're going to get out with only a 2-0 scoreline against them. They have been right up against the wall in the last 5 minutes, but Cronulla haven't been able to get the try they desperately needed. And at half-time, it's 2-0 to Cronulla over the Canberra Raiders, and the scrums in the first half are 6-all. The penalties are 6-3 to Cronulla. Terrific game of football. Listen to the ovation from the fans here at Caltex Field. With that 2-0 lead, I don't think that it's enough with the wind that that Cronulla had in the first half. The only points in the first half, a penalty goal to Alan Wilson in the 32nd minute of the game, 8 minutes from half-time. It's been a rip-snorter of a game with play seesawing from one end to the other, and it has been the Cronulla side that really have had the territorial advantage. They've got their nose in front, but a heck of a way to go in this game. Let's go to our sideline eye, Tony McGay, and Canberra, I think, Tony, would be very, very happy with that scoreline. They stuck to it late in that half.
Well, Peter, I spoke to a Canberra player. They've done their homework. They watched the video last week, the St George game. They watched St George come home over the top of Cronulla in the final stages. Of course, they're banking on holding them, and then the fatigue setting in, and I feel they'll finish the stronger.
I do too. Late in the half, Cronulla had 3 or 4 opportunities. They made breaks by Spina, breaks by Eddingshausen, and couldn't go on with it, and I think they'll regret that.
Well, Peter, they needed at least a try now. Now they're going to be in terrible trouble. They're going to have to play with this win against them. It's 2-0. It's not enough.
I don't think it is either. A good kicking game, though, in the first half by Canberra to keep the Cronulla side deep in their territory whenever they had the opportunity. But Canberra can play better. Their defence is much more intense than last week, Tony.
Well, Peter, there's been minimal chances. They should have come up with at least one try. Against Canberra, you don't get too many. They've had 3 for no result.
OK, there it is from our sideline eye, Tony McGay. So at half-time at Caltex Field, only 1 penalty goal, the difference in a very tight game of football. Cronulla 2 leading Canberra 0. For Cronulla in the first half, I thought Docking had a superb first half. So too did the winger Alan Wilson. A very great display of defensive work by Michael Speechley, but we tend to expect that from him. In the forwards, a good game today from Danny Staines and Danny Lee, working very, very hard. Gavin Miller, always eager to put something on. In the Canberra side, their best player, I feel, this afternoon has probably been in attack Bradley Clyde, and he's made good ground every time that he's attacked. We've seen a much more involved display today from the rest of the forwards, particularly Glenn Lazarus is playing strongly, so too is Collins, and Steve Walter's not going too badly, albeit out of position in the second row this afternoon. So it's all there for the second half. It's 2-0 in favour of the Cronulla side over Canberra at half-time. A heck of a lot of football left in this game here at Caltex Field. Uninterrupted Rugby League on 2GB News Talk 873, brought to you by Liquor Stop, LJ Hooker, Tooheys and Auto Village Holden. We'll take a break and be back shortly.
You should shop at the Liquor Stop.
The biggest variety and the best value. It's what you get when you shop at your local Liquor Stop store. This week, save on 4-litre Orlando Coolabah casks, $7.99. Wolf Blast Wine Riesling, also $7.99. Tanqueray Gin, $25.99, and delightful Drambuie liqueur, $33.99. Look for these specials and more at all Liquor Stop outlets. Stop, shop and save at your local liquor stop store.
Zorba, there's been some incredible deals at Auto Village Holden during their hail damage sale.
You said it, Holly.
And here's more. Just like the Jackaroo DLX Fabulous 4-wheel drive wagon, just $21,990 plus on-road costs, you save over $6,000.
Or save over $5,000 on a Rodeo 4-wheel drive pickup with automatic transmission and big 2.6-litre fuel-injected engine, only $11,990.
That's stock numbers 833 and 600, Auto Village Holden at 266 Hume Highway, Cabramatta.
2GB's World of Football, giving you the full rugby league story.
Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you. LJ Hooker, you're the best.
Whether you're buying or selling, talk to LJ Hooker.
Nobody does it better. LJ Hooker, you're the best.
What makes world champion surfer Barton Lynch feel good?
Nothing's better than being out in the surf and watching the sunrise with your mates. You know, sitting out there, getting that perfect set wave, that's a feeling you can't replace that one. Surfing a 20-foot swell and surviving, you know, that feels great. I'll tell you what feels really good. That's an ice-cold Tooheys after a hard day surfing. Nothing beats it.
Tooheys Draft. Real taste, real beer.
And a VFL update, AFL update I mean. It's in progress in the third quarter down at VFL Park. Carlton by 10 points. They're 9 goals, 5-59, leading Collingwood 7-7-49. At Princes Park, Fitzroy 58 points to good, 11-13-79, leading the Brisbane Bears 4-7-31. Down at Moorabbin, St Kilda by a country mile. Tony Lockett's kicked 8 goals and St Kilda are 14 goals, 10-94 against the West Coast Eagles 3-3-21. Finally at the MCG, only 14 points in it. Geelong are 11-9.
Single mattresses, $69 each. And there's more, much more. Sofa beds, $399. 4-piece cane lounges, $289. Free gold rubber underlay on all Stockline carpets. Harvey Norman discounts, 7-day sale, furniture, electrical carpets.
Let's return to Caltex Field for the second half of Canberra and Cronulla. League 90 is brought to you by LJ Hooker, Auto Village Holden, Liquor Stop and Tooheys. Here's Greg and Pete.
Welcome back to Caltex Field. Both sides still in the dressing rooms at half-time, but what a terrific game we've got on our hands. Should be a very tight second half here. I don't think there'll be any big scoreline here at Caltex Field this afternoon. Maybe 1 or 2 tries in the second half, but it's going to be a real battle. Cronulla 2 leading Canberra 0 at half-time. Greg, I don't think that's enough with this wind advantage that Canberra will have in the second half. They gambled, and right at this moment, they've come up trumps.
It wouldn't appear it's enough, Peter, at this stage. As you said, it's pretty strong down there. We're looking at the flags at the southern end of Caltex Field, and as you said earlier, it's probably a good 15-knot breeze down there, so they're going to have their work cut out for them, particularly when you've got kickers in the side like Ricky Stewart who can turn them around. I wasn't disappointed with their first half performance to the extent that their forwards did a good job, but I thought Andrew Eddinghausen could have been doing just a little bit more on a couple of occasions, Pete. We mentioned in the call there were breaks, and when you got the speed of that fellow, I thought he should have been up there with them, but certainly the defence especially has been to the fore. Their pack has worked very, very hard. On the other side of the coin, you look at Canberra, terrific performances from Bradley Clyde. I think that Gary Belcher is pretty safe back there in the fullback position, and I think Laurie Daly's having a very good game at 5'8". But
giving away a lot of penalties, though.
Yes, they're doing that, and that would be a concern, no doubt about that in that camp. Lazarus is having a good game too, but I think that Canberra just might have a little bit of clout on them, Pete, the way they'll turn them around. They'll drive them right back to their in-goal area, try to force the error, and hopefully for their sake they'll be thinking they can capitalise on it.
Well, there's 50 and 60 metres every time Stewart wants to kick now.
Exactly.
And that's 50 or 60 metres you don't have to run. And, of course, when Canberra do get close to the line, they have got the scoring potential. Once in the game, Meninga had a gallop, and he ran 15 metres and then carried them
3 of them.
another 5 or 6, 7 metres before they finally got him to the ground. So, you know, very interesting. Tackles in the first half. Canberra had to make 144 to the Cronulla's 97. So that's a big difference there. Canberra, maybe they've done that much tackling that they've run out of a bit of puff, but certainly they had to do all the tackling in the first half, and Cronulla had more opportunities, and they certainly didn't take advantage in the first half. No changes to the Cronulla side. Let's go to our sideline eye. Tony McGay, as Alan Fitzgibbon, the coach of Cronulla, rejoins his co-selectors, coaching staff in the grandstand. He's got a bit of a smile on his face, Fitzy. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
We understand no changes to either side, Peter. I think it's a game that'll go down to the last 10 minutes.
Okay, sideline eye, Tony McGay down there. The Canberra side about to come onto the field for the second half. Cronulla are on the field, and they must be geared up for a good defensive effort in the second half, as were Canberra in the first half. 144 tackles in the first half to the Green Machine, who are coming through the area now underneath the grandstand. Their captain, Mel Meninga, followed by Gary Belcher. Great football side, this one. The reigning premiers in the Winfield Cup, and they take the field for the second half. Incidentally, Greg, Canberra for many, many years couldn't win a game away from home, and their first ever victory away from their then home ground of Seaford Oval in Queanbeyan was indeed here under the coaching of Don Ferner at Caltex Field against Cronulla. It was their first ever win away from home, was here at Shark Park, I think in about 1984 or 83, so it took them a while. They came in 82, and they didn't get a win for a while away from home, but they debuted here. This was their first scalp, and since then, of course, they've become a major force in the Winfield Cup, and indeed are the first club away from the metropolitan area to lift the J.J. Gilton Cup and the Winfield Cup.
Peter, it was significant, that remark that Mago made down there about saying this game will probably go down to the last 10 minutes. Well, probably if that's the case, looking at the way the Cronulla side in their last few outings that we've seen, they seem to be a better second half team and seem to be able to pour on more points. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah,
so,
depends who you're playing with, Greg. You know, they're not playing just any side today. They're playing a side that really can play this game. There's straight away from the restart of play. There's a kick downfield from the kickoff by Gary Belcher, who's not a bigger kicker as some of the other members of the team. And Canberra right up there, and they've got Docking inside his own quarter. That's going to be the pattern of the second half.
It sure is. And now Andrew Eddinghausen, is this going to be a pattern for the second half? He split him open, and that's exactly what this kid's got to do, because he is just good stuff when he's moving. Goes back now into the arms of David Hatch. Hatch taken that time by Lazarus in a strong shoulder tackle. He's pulled down over the halfway line. Up now to play it to Eddinghausen. Sends it across once again to Gavin Miller to Danny Lee. Lee then is confronted by Coyne and company and pulled down 40 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Up to play it to Gavin Miller. Gives it now back to Dan Staines charging forward. He's going to be wrapped up with one tackle left to go after picking up another 8 metres or so. Back now to Massey. Massey across into the arms of Gavin Miller, who drops it off the end of the toe, and it will find touch right down within 12 metres of the Canberra goal line, but the Green Machine defeat.
Yeah, certainly is. And now this is going to be the pattern of the second half. Cronulla have worked hard. Good break by Eddinghausen, got them an easy 40, but for the rest of the sequence of 6, they had to work hard to get yardage. Canberra simply have to kick it. Now there's a feed that the referee's asked to be put in again. The first half, he penalised Spina.
Yeah, well, that one came out the back of the scrum, so it was a darn good scrum, but it did go in the second row. No risk in the world about that.
Nobody at home for Cronulla. Docking's got to get back if the kick comes on the second tackle.
Well, beautiful tackle by Mal Meninga on... by Speechley was a beautiful tackle. Back now it goes to Bradley Clyde. Steps one, tries to go across field. Lee is there eventually to knock him down inside the quarter. They won't bust their guts down there. They'll offload, and there goes the kick, Peter, by Ricky Stewart once again, and he found the space between Jonathan Docking and also Alan Wilson, and they're going to be pinned right back down inside that quarter area again as 3 strong defenders come up to try and take Wilson. He's committed to take the tackle too. Didn't even look to see if he could offload to Jonathan Docking, and he's down on his own quarter. Plays it now to Docking and dummy half across down to John Davidson. Davidson can't beat the tackle of Wayne Collins. Lazarus in there also, so 3 and Coyne. Big man up over the top to put him down. He plays it now to David Hatch, who gives it out now to Gavin Miller. Tries to set up Danny Staines with a good pass, but then Staines is pulled to ground too by Bell around the legs.
2 minutes gone on the second half. No change to the half-time score. Cronulla 2, Canberra 0. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, it's only 2 points. It doesn't seem much to play with, but it's an awful lot with this wind.
Okay, certainly is. I don't get that. 2 points, Tony. Would you repeat that?
Yeah,
well, it doesn't seem much to play with, but you'd sooner have the lead with this wind.
Okay.
I think it's an enormous advantage.
Okay, all right. I'd rather have the wind, I think. I think I'd rather have the wind and what you can do with it.
And 35 minutes in front of you.
Yeah, I
putting them
disagree.
down.
Anyway, here's Canberra now.
Daly now gets it out to Mal Meninga. Meninga wanted to try and pass back inside, but he's pulled down. Now it's back into the arms of Ferguson, scrambling forward. He's knocked to the ground, gets up the play back to Bradley Clyde. Again across to Ricky Stewart, wide out to Gary Coyne. Coyne going to be pulled down on the Cronulla quarter line. I've got tackle 3 going through my computer at the moment as it goes to Collins, gives it back now to... it was Bailey across once again to Bradley. Clyde's been knocked down. There's a race for the ball. Diving on it too and getting to the ball was Bell, but Clyde I should say, but he gets up now to play the ball back. It goes out to Ferguson. A long pass across to Lazarus, then to Bell once again. Bell wrapped up beautifully again right around the bootlaces. Up the plat, back now to Martin, across to Lazarus again. And over the top came David Hatch, but the tackle most effective was from McGaw down low. Back it goes to Ricky Stewart. Good pass to Coyne. He dummied. Had a look back to offload.
And screaming because there's no support.
No one with him whatsoever. Wallers now does exactly the same, but he wasn't going to pass the ball. They've got one left to go, and again, they're just outside the Cronulla quarter line. Gives it now back into the arms of Stewart. Again, a high kick up. I've got quite a few of them offside. They charge through. Docking is knocked on. But there was pressure galore there, Peter, with Daly charging through.
Well, there's going to be pressure galore now because it's a scrum feed to Canberra, only a couple of metres out from the Cronulla goal line. Docking, spilling that one, and the pressure well and truly on, and a huge blindside here for Stewart to work with.
You're not wrong. Look at the side of it. They win it too. Goes out to Daly. Back now to Mal Meninga. Tries to steamroll his way over the top, but he's well pulled down. We'll play it back now to Laurie Daly. Gives it across to Ricky Stewart out. No, he goes to pass now. Oh, he's been held. That's got to be a penalty kick.
Oh, blatantly held.
Not in possession of the ball. That should have been a penalty kick to Canberra.
Oh, it should have been a penalty to Canberra for sure. The Cronulla player was hanging on to a Canberra player.
Gary Belcher.
Not in possession of the football. Gary Belcher it was. He had no hope there. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, he certainly did. Spooner was the player. He was offside.
He was offside and tackling a player not in possession. It should have been a penalty to the Canberra side.
Back it goes now to Diamond. He tries to bust them, but he's knocked down up over the top that time. And a good tackle by Clyde. Back now it goes to Hatch out to Danny Lee running wide. Lee steps over one, but eventually taken on the far side by Mark Bell. Will get up the plat. It goes across now to Davidson. Davidson into the arms of Eddinghausen, who gets his kick downfield. Gary Belcher right underneath that ball as it came down. Straightens up the attack. He beats one. Goes through. He's minus the boot. Is it a boot or he's got tape all around it?
Yeah, and he left Michael speechless. So speechless human after all. He missed that tackle badly on Belcher. Here's Daly with a bit of room to move.
Yeah, but he's going nowhere. And Eddinghausen had hold of him, and down he goes. Plays it now to Ferguson, across to Ricky Stewart, out to Bradley Clyde once again, and another one he stepped out of too that time. And a good strong burst it was too from Clyde. Back now to Collins, across now to Ricky Stewart to Coyne. Coyne tries to dance his way through. David Hatch has got him. He gets up the play it back once again to Wayne Collins and picks up valuable yards for the Canberra side. Pull down with one tackle left to go, short of the quarter line. Back now to Ricky Stewart. He steps, goes through the gap, was going to shape and kick, but he's knocked it on. And
why doesn't he play the advantage?
Because he thinks the advantage is far better to have a tackle at least an extra couple of metres downfield.
You're kidding. He's got to at least attempt to play the advantage.
I would have played it. Nevertheless, Spooner in possession of the ball. He's knocked down inside his own quarter line by Coyne. Gavin Miller at dummy half. He gets it across down to Davidson again. Wayne Collins is around his legs to pull him down just outside his own quarter line. Gavin Miller once again at dummy half. Tries to go through, but he's caught up to by Lazarus and also Walters.
Cronulla finding it hard going in the early stages of this second half, as Canberra did into the wind in the first half. They're just running one out. 4 tackles now from the dummy half position, and they've only made about 10 metres.
Gavin Miller, Diamond has put it down. And Gavin Miller goes back to dive on it. The referee says no, the knock-on has occurred. So a scrum to go down just outside the Sharkies quarter line.
Well, Diamond said before the game he wanted to prove a point. He hasn't done it today. He's had a shocker.
Yeah, he hasn't at this stage. There's no doubt about that. But the scrum to go down just outside the Cronulla quarter line. Oh, it's one against the head. And we've got now Spooner racing away with the ball. Caught up to by Gary Belcher and knocked to the ground. He plays it back now into the arms of Jonathan Docking. Oh, and Docking is put down by Gary Coyne in a beautiful tackle. David Hatch now a dummy half. He sends it centre field out to Diamond, trying to make amends, but he's well and truly wrapped up. The kid will get up to play it, but he's got Lazarus over the top with a forearm.
Well, that's silly place. silly play by Glenn Lazarus. He's a much better player than that. He had his head down, and then Lazarus coming in late with a, it was a half pie forearm on the chin of the tackle player Diamond, and I dare say that's a bit of a hello, welcome back to football from their former teammate from last year. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Certainly there was something personal there, plus he was the second man in. The play was held.
He certainly was. Okay, Cronulla now over the halfway mark for only the second time in the second half.
Hatchet dummy half. He gives it back now into the arms of Danny Staines, and he's knocked down 35 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Plays it back to Hatch again. He looks for support. He gives it back now to Spina. Spina's taken over the top by Lazarus. We'll get up to play at 32 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Across now to Gavin Miller through the gap. Has a look back. Can he offload? No. Ricky Stewart's there to pull him down. Playing it on the Canberra quarter line. Back it goes to David Hatch. He tries to step one or two. Gives it back to Massey. But Massey's going to be wrapped up too, just a shade inside the Canberra quarter line.
In such a tight game, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to field goal, but not. It's a high kick. McGaw says he's onside.
Oh, and beautifully
taken.
Gary Belcher.
Magnificent take.
Yes, he went high, Peter, to take that one.
Soared like an eagle.
Soared like an eagle. The only trouble is he's a raider. You'd like him to be an eagle, but wouldn't you?
I certainly would.
Back now it goes into the arms of Mal Meninga, trying to struggle up over the 30-metre line centre field. But Gavin Miller over the top of him. He's up to play it now, back to Collins, across to Coyne. Coyne trying to get through the gap, but to no avail. Hatch once again down around the legs.
Geez, consistent, Gary Coyne. He's not amongst their star players, but I tell you what, they wouldn't be the same side without him.
No.
Crowd of 9,945 as Docking takes the kick from Ricky Stewart, and he makes it up just 10 metres outside his own quarter line. 9,945 would have packed them in tomorrow. This game, 20,000. Been a terrific game. Still 2-0 in favour of Cronulla over Canberra.
Danny Lee up now to play it. Back it goes to Hatch. Across now to Massey once again. He stops, tried to come back inside. And Coyne is there to finish him off in company with Wallers. Just outside the halfway line in Cronulla territory, we've got Speechley now getting his kick downfield. Once again, Belcher cleaning up for the Canberra side. Comes away from the touch line. And eventually he's knocked down 35 metres out from his own goal line. As he plays it now to Martin. Goes across to Ricky Stewart. Wide out now to Bradley Clyde. Elects to run. Slips, tries to get up and goes again. Gets around one. But then eventually he's knocked down after picking up an extra 5 metres or so. He's 10 short of the halfway line. As Collins gives it out to Lazarus, out now. It went to Daly, then to Mal Meninga. He steps around one, turns it back inside to Ferguson. If he gets clear, they're in trouble. But Diamond comes in and he just manages to get hold of him to knock him down. Then he's claimed by McGaw. But now it's played to Daly. Daly goes across field. He gets the ball out to Ricky Stewart. A long pass across now. It goes to Gary Belcher. He starts a run, shows it to one through the gap, gives it back to Martin. Martin's got a man out wide too, but he won't be able to get his pass away, and he's going to be held up 9 metres out from the Cronulla goal line. It's played now. It goes to Bell out to Ricky Stewart. A long pass to Daly, whose arm went up. He gives it back down to Bradley Clyde. And Clyde has pulled down. He quickly plays the ball back to Daly again. He chips through back in the goal. And it's a try to Canberra. Laurie Daly off the end of his boot. And he's got in for a try.
Brilliant stuff by Laurie Daly. Out of nowhere on the last tackle. He's raced away from the dummy half position as Laurie Daly. And the Cronulla Sharks laid off him. Lee tried to shoulder charge him. He raced through. Got the bounce beautifully, but put the ball down for a magnificent individual rugby league try from Laurie Daly. Got the bounce beautifully. Oh, I think he dropped the ball, Greg. You need somebody touching goal, looking at it head on. Oh, I don't know whether he got that ball down. It was a very debatable one, that one. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
I've got to say he didn't get it down. I reckon he knocked it on.
Well, touching goal, and from behind it looked as though he got the ball down, but when you see it head on, courtesy of the ABC television replay, there is a big doubt about that, and that's why you need in-goal umpires in rugby league. Big question mark over that one.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and we've got to get them very, very quickly, but then again it shoots our argument up, down with us up here with two monitors with red and green lights. You've got to have that bloke on the field, eye level.
Okay, Daly's got the try anyway, awarded very quickly there by the referee. 4 points to 2 with an easy kick for Meninga.
There he goes now, and he puts it straight over the bar for the 2 points.
Well, 6 points to 2 with with the wind, and the try has come for Laurie Daly, and it's taken 12 minutes of the second half. So 52 minutes of the match for the Raiders to get on the board, and they lead by 6 points to 2. Daly the try and the conversion from Mal Meninga. So Cronulla right up against it now, trailing by 6 points to 2. Ironically, the scoreline with which Canberra were beaten last week by Canberra. So we haven't seen a lot of scoring in the last two Saturday matches.
Okay, the centre of the halfway now once again. Wilson getting it underway with a kick deep down and taken by Gary Belcher. Straight back down to Ferguson. Goes across toward the centre of the ground. Can't step away from the defence that time of Diamond. Gets up the play to Collins. Gives it across to Ricky Stewart, and immediately Stewart kicks downfield. Knocking back there on his Pat Malone. This is a mammoth kick. It's going to go right back towards the goal line. As a matter of fact, he turned right on the line. So they've picked up huge yardage there, and Docking can't get outside his own quarter line.
Well, that gamble at this moment of running into the wind in the first half, containing Cronulla to just 2-0, is proving, spot on for this Canberra side. Everything going according to plan at the moment for them, and a tough job for Cronulla to get back up the other end of the field this afternoon.
Well, we've got Cronulla in possession. Danny Staines playing it back to Hatch to Gavin Miller. Miller has a look back inside. He gives it once again into the arms of Massey. But Massey pulled down 35 metres out from the Cronulla goal line. Back to Hatch again, across now to Laurie Spina. Good pass out to Speechley, who offloads to McGaw. Then it's back to Eddinghausen. Back inside to Speechley. Keeps it alive through Danny Lee. He gives it to Eddinghausen again, who picks up Danny Staines. Staines a lob pass up over the top to Diamond, who picks up Wilson out wide. That's darn good stuff. He beats a Meninga tackle, but then the Green boys swarming over the top of him to knock him down. That's played to Diamond, goes across to Miller, turns it back to Hatch. He gets a kick in downfield. Gary Belcher will just watch this one trickle over the dead ball line, and we're back to the quarter line, and that's good stuff from the boys.
Yeah, good stuff from Cronulla, but that kick out the back door, not putting any pressure on Gary Belcher there. It'll be a tap from the quarter. Canberra in front, 6-2 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. 14 minutes gone in the second half.
And very tied too, the boys in green at the moment.
Well, they've done a lot of tackling, Greg, but they've got the wind behind them, and they can kick their way out of trouble when they get into it.
They sure can. Coyne now, as you said, not a lot of class about him, but gee, what a worker this bloke is. He's up to play the ball. Back to Collins again, who can step from the back of the ruck. He's copped up possession. Diamond still couldn't take the initiative. 6 tackles ruled. Well, it must have been knockdown. You explain that one to me.
Well, it's got to be a knock-on in the first instance. He's got to play a knock-on both sides.
Well, he's given him 6 more tackles, and Bell's trying to go through the gap. That's why I asked you to explain it to me. It was my knock-on for mine for your life. But Bradley Clyde now charging forward.
Unless he's ruled that it was raked out by a Cronulla player.
That's what I think he's done. Back now it goes to Ricky Stewart out to Daly. Daly was going to pass. He elects to run. Diamond's up there to stop him. He gets up to play the ball back now to Gary Belcher. From the back of the ruck, he picks up now Walters. Walters tried to go pass around the corner, but he just couldn't get it away as Speechley affects the tackle. It's played now to Collins again across to Ricky Stewart. Stewart again drops it off the end of the toe. Sends it straight over the touchline inside Cronulla's quarter.
Well, Canberra have grabbed this game by the throat at the moment. Only a 6-2 lead, but they're going ahead. Canberra certainly moving better than this Cronulla side, who are walking to the scrum. Sideline eye, Tony McGowan.
We'll go with Ward on that decision. He ruled it was a rake back by Miller.
Okay, so there it was.
There you go. Scrum going down, one by Cronulla. Gives it now to Spina, and Spina is knocked to the ground. We'll get up to play it on the Sharks quarter line to David Hatch. Gives it across now to Danny Lee, and he is knocked to the ground after picking up some 9 metres or so. Now it's back to Hatch to Gavin Miller down the blind side to Diamond. Turns it back inside to Spina. Spina tried to get around one. He manages to do that. Picks up Massey out wide now to Danny Staines. Staines turns the ball back inside. Picked up on the volley by Speechley. Back it goes now to Docking. And Docking loses possession of the ball. He hits him on the shoulder and loses possession of the ball.
No way, that was a high tackle. Docking claiming to the referee it was. He dead set hit him on the shoulder with both arms, Gary Belcher. Knocked the ball out of his hand, and it should be a scrum feed to Canberra. First knock on was by Docking.
Well, there's the feed by Stewart. They win it too. The referee not happy with it.
These scrums are awful today.
Well, a couple of them have been great, but the rest of them have been miserable. But they've won it. It goes back now to Gary Belcher. He gives it ball now back to Ricky Stewart. Don't know how he caught it, but he did. He gives it out now to Mark Bell. Bell tries to go inside. McGaw he does, but he can't get away from Speechley, and he's knocked down 8 metres over the halfway line. Plays it now to Ricky Stewart. Gives it across now to Glenn Lazarus charging forward, but so is Danny Lee. and also Diamond, and they put him to ground. Back now to Wayne Collins again. Collins going to be wrapped up. Wasn't Hill tried to get up the go again. He plays it back to Walters. Walters takes off from the back of the ruck. Full of running now. He gives it back now once again into the arms of Collins. Then beautifully back. Collins. Yes, and then it went straight out then to Coyne, but it's played to Collins across now to Stewart, out wide to Gary Belcher. Back now it goes to Laurie Daly. He gives it back into the arms of Ricky Stewart again. Stewart keeps it alive to Belcher. Belcher turns it back inside to Bell, and he must be only centimetres short of the line.
Last tackle.
One tackle left to go. It goes across now to Ricky Stewart. He aims up, but he coughs possession up, and there's a scramble for the ball, but a changeover has been called.
Well, he should play the advantage again. I mean, the advantage to Cronulla is 6 metres downfield, where Danny Lee fell on the ball after it was dropped. Now, he's not playing the advantage rule.
I don't know what he's doing,
So
Peter.
not Tony McGee. Explain that one.
Well, I don't know either, Peter, but certainly in that case he should have played the advantage where the Cronulla player got possession, Lee.
You certainly should have. I mean, it was knocked on by Cronulla, dived on by Lee, 6 metres downfield, and he's gone back and played the changeover.
Luke Massey now charging forward, but he's well and truly wrapped up too. We'll get up the play by Ricky Stewart, 30 metres out from his own goal line. Back to Eddingshausen, gives it across now to Gavin Miller again, ever looking for that gap and support to come through, but not this time.
Diamond's off for the Cronulla side, replaced by Michael Porter.
Back now, the kick downfield. Oh, it's a darn good kick too by Cronulla, and it goes over the touchline. Gary Belcher had no answer to that one.
He certainly didn't. A good kick, and Cronulla haven't kicked into the wind as much as Canberra did in the first half, and that kick there, which was a good yardage gainer, proves that the wind isn't all that strong that you can't kick into it. Two very tight football teams out there. The pace has been a cracker. Sideline eye, Tony McGee.
Certainly has a very disappointed Craig Diamond, shaking his head here on the bench.
Okay, scrum win to Canberra.
Yeah, and the referee not happy with it. Well, it wouldn't make any difference. It just went in and out, but it could have played on. There it goes now. One by Canberra, straight across now to Laurie Daly. Daly's got Meninga. Daly trying to get mobile, but he's not going to happen this time. Hatch came in with a bit of a shoulder charge. That's going to be a... Well, that's a stupid ruling. He was in possession of the ball, Daly. That should have been a penalty to Canberra. What is going on here?
That is ridiculous. Daly stood up. He wasn't put down. Coming in.
Should have been called upon at the player.
Should have been called on the player.
Shoulder charge by Hatch, and he leaves him there.
Okay, play going on now. That's ridiculous.
Canberra defending their line. Docking plays it back now. It goes to Michael Porter charging forward. He's going to be wrapped up about 11 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Getting up the plate now, back to Gavin Miller. Miller decides to run from the back of the ruck. He links up out wide once again, this time with Massey, and he's knocked to the ground. He'll get up to play the ball back now. It goes to Spooner across the big Danny Lee, running wide. Lee still struggling to go forward, but again he finds himself 2 metres short of the Canberra goal line. Speechley at dummy half gives it straight back to Gavin Miller again, and Miller can't get his pass away. They've got one tackle left to go there, about 8 metres out from the Canberra goal line. It's gone to David Hatch across to Speechley, drops it off the end of the toe. Martin making it dead in the Canberra in-goal area, and they're back to the goal line dropout.
Okay, so Cronulla coming on strongly now. They trail by 6 points to 2, and there are 19 minutes. Plenty of football left in this grueling game at Caldex Field. Two very tired sides. Canberra with their nose in front 6-2, and with a big wind at their backs. And the line dropout by Ricky Stewart will illustrate it. There's a 50 metres on the fly.
Yes, beautifully taken by David Hatch. Got support too. Doesn't use it, decides to go on his own, and will cop the tackle 30 metres out from the Canberra goal line. A good one too by Collins. Now Michael Porter from the back of the ruck. He picks up a valuable 10 metres right up down to the Green Machines quarter line. Up once again to play it back to David Hatch. He turns the ball to Gavin Miller down the centre of the ground. Miller looks for support, couldn't slip his pass away. And Gary Coyne over the top in company with Lazarus. Now it's gone back to Hatch again. Out to Laurie Spooner, and Spooner charging forward until he's caught up to by Gary Belcher and company. We'll play it now 10 metres out from the Green Machine line to Eddingshausen. Back again to Gavin Miller. Eddingshausen again across to Speechley. Back to Eddingshausen again. Turns it back inside to Docking. It goes back to Speechley. Speechley dummies. Still going for the line, but again 1 metre short of it. One tackle left to go. Michael Porter at dummy half. Across now to Danny Lee. Knocked on. Danny Lee has knocked on. What has the referee said? change of possession. Well, he did knock on.
It was a knock on. He didn't rule it though. Change over of possession and good attacking play by Cronulla, but they haven't been able to get that desperate try that they're seeking. It's still 6 points to 2 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. Canberra now, both sides out on their feet. A great game of football. It's going to be the side that goes home the stronger in the final 19 minutes of play. 6-2 to the Raiders over the Sharks.
Well, the Raiders now getting outside their own quarter line. They've had tackle 4. They should put the pill right down the other end, but they're prepared to run it through Bradley Clyde. Can't step away from the tackle, and he's pulled down 30 metres out by Speechley from his own goal line. Collins once again. Now Ricky Stewart will put the leather dwelling downfield. Beautiful torpedo-style kick. It's not going to have the A-grade bounce. Picked up by Docking, 2 metres out from his own goal line.
But there's the difference, Greg. Cronulla have got to really graft for every inch they make in this game, and now Canberra, with the luxury of that wind, just have to kick it back downfield. And here's Docking. He's through the gap.
He's through the gap all right, but he's got no petrol left. If he'd have been full of super Caldex there, he'd have been right down, but he ran out of juice. They're tied. They're out on their feet. But Gavin Miller picks up Danny Staines coming through the gap, but Staines pulled down now on the halfway line. We'll get up the play back to David Hatch, sends it across to Gavin Miller again, who picks up Danny Lee, but his legs are chopped from under him. We'll get up the play 2 metres up over the halfway line, back to Laurie Spina. Spina sends it inside to Michael Porter, who again picks up Luke Massey, but Massey is knocked down 40 metres out with 1 left to go.
Yeah, they've hit the brick wall, Cronulla, running into this wind in the second half. Too much for them. They're Speechley trying to put it in that in-goal area. Belcher will pick it up just short of the goal line and race away from that area.
Oh, steps around Eddinghausen too. Goes down further. Gives it across now to Paul Martin, who came in from the touchline, as all good wingers should, and he's knocked down 30 metres out from his own goal line. He plays it now to Bell. Gives it back this time to Brent Todd, who manages to hang on to the football on that occasion. He's 32 metres out from his own goal line. Wayne Collins now a dummy half across to Ricky Stewart, wide to Daly. Picks up Bradley Clyde, that is. Gives it out to Mal Meninga. Now the speedster. Ferguson steps 1 or 2, and he steps out of another one, but then is knocked down on the halfway line. We'll get up the plat. Bradley Clyde at dummy half. Sends it across now to Ricky Stewart. Clyde on the wraparound, looking for the gap, but it closes up very quickly. Michael Porter in up over the top to hold him up 2 metres up over the halfway line. Once again, it's Wayne Collins across now to Gary Coyne. Wide it goes to Belcher. Dummies tries to find the gap, but he's well and truly contained by Eddingshausen on the far side of the ground, and back slammed, I might add, for his trouble, 8 metres over the halfway line.
Two replacements coming on for the Canberra side. 40. Oh, there's a horrible kick. It's going to bring rain. We've had enough.
And it's bounced, and who's going to take it? He's offside.
No, it's knocked back by a Cronulla player. Fair enough. You go to Gibbon Beeman.
Okay, I will too. Up now to
40
play the
and
ball.
41. Barnhill and Carey coming on for the Canberra side. They're calling in more troops.
Michael Porter now getting up to play the ball. Penalty now to the Cronulla side. Be very unhappy too, Lazarus, as he goes back, on the 2 reserves coming on right now.
Yeah, and it's Steve Walters coming off, and it'd have to be Brent Todd. Who is it?
Well, Carey's on there 1.
Yeah, and Todd's coming off.
And Brent Todd's the other man coming off, and Barnhill's the other fellow going on.
Yeah, Barnhill's on, and Carey's on, and Steve Walters and Brent Todd are coming off for the Canberra side.
Okay, there's the penalty kick now, finding touch. 35 metres out from the Canberra goal line. Free kick to be taken, and Wilson sends it inside to his skipper, David Hatch.
14 minutes left for play. It's Canberra 6, leading Cronulla 2. Can the Sharkies level it up with a try?
And Wilson, I thought, knocked that on as he went to ground, but he said play on. David Hatch at dummy half. He gives it back now to Massey once again. Bradley Clyde up over the top to knock him down just outside the Canberra quarter line. Hatch shows it to Gavin Miller again. He gives it back to McGaw through the gap. McGaw charging forward. Gives it back to Docking, and he's let the thing go. It's gone to ground. I don't believe it.
Yeah, it was knocked on by Docking, only a few metres out. Wasn't the best of passes, Greg. It was a pretty ordinary pass. It was Mark McGaw heading towards the goal line, and as he was hitting the deck, he got a one-arm pass away. Should have been taken by Speedy.
Oh, I was right in the bread basket.
Okay, sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, I thought there was a defender in the way that may have hit him at the same time.
Okay, it was a good move by Cronulla. They may not get another opportunity. 6-2 with, I make it 13 minutes left for play.
And we've got the Raiders in possession. The reigning premiers, Ricky Stewart now getting a kick downfield. That's a better looking kick. Young Wilson can only watch it go over the touchline. The flag goes up and, well, what was that? 75 yards they've picked up.
Certainly, Greg, and it's all too easy, isn't it, when you see that compared to slugging it away. I mean, Cronulla have to work very hard.
Yep.
And, well, you know, it's tit for tat. Canberra ran into the wind in the first half by choice. They won the toss and ran into it. And certainly at this moment, that's going to be the most important part of this game of football. If they win, running into the wind, that winning of the toss has really worked wonders for them. Here's Speechley trying hard. 6-2 to the Canberra side over Cronulla with exactly 13 minutes left for play.
Michael Porter dropping the shoulder into the defence that time. Barnhill, he gets up now to play the ball. Back it goes to Hatch, across now to Laurie Spooner. Wide out now to Eddingshausen, tries to stop and start, and you can't do that. 3 of the green machine over the top to halt that run. He'll get up to play it back to Spooner, 30 out from his own goal line. Got Michael Porter with him. Doesn't even look back to see if there was any support. And he's pulled down now 35 metres out from his own goal line.
They're bunching up Cronulla. He could put a blanket over all of them. Miller trying to get it out wide.
Oh, back on to Danny Staines. Then out to McGaw. Does a 360. Couldn't keep his footing. And then he throws a shocking pass. They gain possession of the ball. The Canberra side 5 metres over the halfway line through Mark Bell. It's played now to Martin. Goes across now to Ricky Stewart. Wide out to Daly. This is where they're dangerous. And that big fella Barnhill going through, but he's knocked to the ground. We'll get up to play the ball. Back now it goes to Wayne Collins. He gives it across to Ricky Stewart. Stewart trying to look for support, and he couldn't get his pass across to Daly.
Cronulla are panicking a bit now. They realise that they've got to pluck a try out of nowhere, and they're trying desperation passes. And I think it's going to be the cool head of Canberra that's going to get them home this afternoon. McGaw's tried 2 real dodgy passes in the last 5 minutes, and neither have come off.
Oh.
Beautifully picked up that pass.
Gary Belcher gives it back to Meninga. I don't know how he did that. Back to Lazarus. They're just throwing it around for the sake of throwing it around. Nobody's going anywhere at this stage. They're just as tight as Cronulla. They've got 1 tackle left to go, but of course they've got the football in possession.
And they've got the wind behind them, and Stewart's a good field goal exponent if they need it.
Oh, and there's the kick, and Daly knows he's onside. He's asked. Daly goes into him now and easily takes his man, which is Wilson, 10 metres out from the Cronulla goal line. It's played now back to Jonathan Docking, who I think has had a blinder this afternoon for his side, but again he's pulled down by Daly. Collins over the top at marker position. He gives it back to Danny Staines, and Lazarus is there to stop his run. He's pulled down inside the quarter line. We'll get up to play the ball once again to David Hatch, who sends it across to Danny Lee, and they're a tied 26 lot of fellas out there, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's been a real hard slog. Only 1 try in the game. A brilliant bit of work by Laurie Daly, but a big question mark about whether or not he got the ball down. That's a big question mark on that one. But right at this moment, it's looking pretty good for them.
Yeah, Wayne Collins came in over the top, especially to put him away. He's up to play it back to David Hatch again. Back now to Andrew Eddingshausen, and they've got no petrol left in him, and I don't blame him. Belch is going to get right under this high kick. 30 out from his own line. Well, he's picked up 10, goes across field. He's got too much pace for him. He turns it back inside to Martin. Martin takes off. He's got support too. He gives it straight back now to Mark Bell, who can hike, let me tell you. Bell's going to go. Bell's going to go. Bell's going to go over the touchline, only about a metre out from the Cronulla goal line. They're coming to get him now.
Yeah, they certainly are. Great tackle on the far side by Eddingshausen.
Yep.
It was a try saver. Bell was off for the prize. Dave Woods coming on for the Canberra side. Let's see who comes out of the game. Is it Lazarus?
Can't see at this stage.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Glenn Lazarus off and Dave Woods. Look at the size of Dave Woods. Talking about this bloke walking off. Woods is actually bigger than him.
Certainly is. Had a strong game, Glenn Lazarus, but they're certainly using all their great power and depth this afternoon, Canberra, and well they might. They've got their nose in front. 6 points to 2 on the Mitsubishi Electric scoreboard. 1 try the difference. 9 minutes left for play.
Okay, and in possession of the ball, Luke Massey. Beautiful tackle that time by Barnhill. Pulls him to ground. Plays it back to David Hatch. Sends it across to Spooner. In a scissors move and out wide. It goes to McGaw again. It was a round 1, but he can't get past the tackle of Bell out wide, who was first man into the hit. And a lot of help over the top by Gary Coyne, but it's played now to Davidson, across now to Gavin Miller. Miller tries to step back inside. He gives it once again to Davidson, out wide now to McGaw. And McGaw's got Eddinghausen outside of him, but he couldn't get his pass away. They've got 1 left to go. They're 30 metres out from their own goal line as we see Eddinghausen receive it, then immediately put it downfield. Oh, and it's a good kick too, so it's working for Eddinghausen the same as it's working for Ricky Stewart.
Yeah, good kick by Andrew Eddingshausen, but I get the impression that there is no juice left. There is just nothing left in this Cronulla side to get them out of this. Canberra too haven't got a lot left. It's been a game that really has taken the toll of both sides today. A dramatic game of football here at Caltex Field, and Canberra win the scrum, and Belcher running very strongly in the second half for Canberra.
Getting up now to play it back now. It goes to Laurie Daly. And Daly trying to tempt someone to come in with him. Steps around one. He gives it back now to Steve Carey. Carey takes off. He's through the gap. Oh, and again Eddinghausen catches up from behind to get him on the shirt tail. He plays it now to Ferguson. Ferguson out to Bradley Clyde. And Michael Porter comes in to take care of Clyde. 40 metres out from the Cronulla goal line. Stewart, long pass across the coin. Gives it back to Belcher again. Belcher knows when to run. He's looking for the gap. He turns it back inside to Paul Martin. Martin around Spina. Steps away from his tackle. Still going, and eventually he's pulled down once again on the far side by Michael Speechley. Now Belcher at dummy half. Across to Stewart. Long pass picks up Collins, who then finds Meninga on the charge. Turns it back into Collins. Back to Carey. Good pass back to Ricky Stewart. Stewart looking to lob one up over the top, and he does. But I'm here to tell you, it's a shocker. Straight over the touchline.
Okay, Greg, tell me if I'm wrong, but Eddie Ward, once the game gets flowing, he doesn't blow his whistle for anything. He just lets it go.
Yeah.
We've had 2 penalties in the second half. It was 6-3 at half-time, the penalties. It's now 8-3. Canberra haven't copped a penalty in the second half, and he just lets everything go. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Well, he certainly does. There hasn't been a penalty, as you said, but Cronulla, they've got their fingernails on the cliff edge, just waiting to go over.
Yeah, they certainly have. It went for them in that first half when they didn't score. Late in the first half when they had a couple of opportunities and didn't get it.
Well, we've got them in possession of the ball once again. This time Wilson charging forward, but again he's wrapped up beautifully by Collins. By Carey. He turns it inside to Danny Lee. Danny Lee races across field now, but he's well and truly wrapped up 35 metres out from his own goal line. He'll play it back now to David Hatch, who gives a good pass then out to Gavin Miller. Turns it back inside to Eddingshausen. If they get through the gap, he has coughed up possession, Andrew Eddingshausen. Knock on both ways, says the referee, in trying to pick it up, but the feed will go to the Canberra side because the first breach against Andrew Eddinghausen for the first knock on.
Okay, so Speechley off for the Cronulla side, Mitch Healy on.
Well, that's a strange move because he has saved try after try after try, this bloke.
Yeah,
he just must be knocked around, Pete.
They need to get try after try, Greg. They don't need to save any anymore.
Yeah, well, Mitch Healy won't do it for him.
Why won't he? He's a good young player.
He is a good young player, but he's not the
he's
player.
Not bagging the kid.
I'm not.
Well,
I said he's not the calibre of Speechley, and he's not, and you know it.
Yeah, well, he may be in attack. He's a good player.
We'll see. Back now it goes to Carey. Carey charges forward. He's going to be wrapped up by Hatch once again. He gets up to try and play it. That should have been a penalty. Played along the ground. Back it goes to Wayne Collins. He'll get up to play it once again to Carey. Carey sends it across this time to Mark Tucoin. Back now it goes this time to Big Mal Meninga charging forward. And over the top they came to make sure that he can't get his pass away. He'll play it now to Collins, who sends a long one across to Ricky Stewart. Has a shot at a field goal. He's got the point too, Ricky Stewart.
Yeah, well, it was always going to be on in the second half, and finally the message went out for Ricky Stewart to make it 7-2, and a good professional effort by the Canberra Raiders this afternoon. With 5 minutes left for play, Ricky Stewart kicks a field goal for the Canberra Raiders to lead by 7 points to 2. So no way out for Cronulla now other than a converted try.
Yeah, back at the centre of the halfway, desperately needed, but as you said, 5 to go. Alan Wilson up to the halfway line, and he'll get the game underway. I think they might still have a try in them, this other mob yet, the green mob, but there she goes deep down, bouncing now. It'll be picked up by Ferguson. Ferguson takes off from his own goal line, tries to get around one, he can't. He's lost his boot, and it was put back right to him there by Michael Porter, which was a nice gesture. And is he crook, Peter? He has to look at him. Looks like he's got a hammy problem.
Or he's got a cramp, I think, Greg.
I thought he might have done a hammy there, but now we've got Woods getting up the plate. It goes back to Ricky Stewart again. He gets a kick downfield, forcing Jonathan Docking to take it on bounce one. He goes across field. He's got speed out wide too there, but he gets up, plays the ball back now. It goes to John Davidson. Davidson charging forward too. In comes Woods over the top. The back slam him on the halfway line.
We're well into the final 5 now and make it 4 minutes to go. And Canberra come up with possession of the football, and they should win this game now. Well, they lead by 7-2.
Back it goes out now to Carey. Gives it across to Bradley Clyde. Fends off one. Spina's got hold of him, and eventually he's dragged to the ground when Hatch comes over the top. It'll be played now back to Mark Bell. Bell looking for a support runner. Woods is there to take it forward too. He's head down. He's a big man charging forward. 40 metres away from the Cronulla goal line. Playing it back once again into the arms of Collins. Across now to Ricky Stewart. Wide it goes to Barnhill. Barnhill tries to step away from a Dan Staines tackle, but he couldn't do that. Stewart again at dummy half. Gives it out to Laurie Daly. Daly to Meninga. Gives it out there to Belcher. Belcher tries to come back inside, but Michael Porter's there to knock him down. He quickly plays it now to Ferguson. Ferguson out to Ricky Stewart again, who has another shot at a field goal. He's been hit afterwards, and it's going to go right back in, up over the dead ball line.
Yeah, he was hit as he kicked the ball. Nothing wrong with that from Mitch Healy. And Mark Lowry's gone to the sideline for the Canberra side. Sideline eye, Tony McGay.
Now Lowry about to come on. They've lost no admirers, Cronulla. They've kept the Premiers to 1 try. Not a lot of football in this second half. Pretty courageous.
Yeah, certainly a courageous effort, and they had their chances in the first half. But they're not going to get the points, and Canberra are going to become the only side other than South Sydney to lower the Sharks' colours here at Caltex Field. Or maybe they're not, because there's still a couple of minutes left for play, and a runaway try under the post will give it to the Sharks.
And they're capable of doing just that. Gavin Miller, he's the man who can put him through the gap. He looks back, he picks up Spina as soon as we say it. But Spina now is knocked to the ground, 32 metres out from the line. It's back once again into the arms this time of Docking. He gets up to play the ball. Back it goes now to Spina. It's going to be a penalty kick.
Well, they've got to get on with the job. A quick tap and get going.
Spina now does just that, Peter. Takes off, puts his head down, tries to go on his own, but he's going to be knocked down inside the quarter line. Lays it back now to David Hatch. David Hatch has taken 2 up over the top that time by Woods, and Collins down below. He'll play it back to Gavin Miller. They're not out of the woods yet, the old green machine, and Miller turns the ball back to Eddinghausen, keeps it alive to Danny Miller. Danny Miller tries to keep it alive too, but he can't.
Danny Lee,
I should say.
Danny Miller.
And it goes back now to Eddinghausen. He scores the try! It's a try!
The Sharks are in! Eddinghausen scored with 1 minute left for play. Andrew Eddinghausen has scored under the post. The Sharks are going to snatch this one. It's 7-6. PG, extraterrestrial from outer space, has scored the try. The Sharks are home. Andrew Eddinghausen, Bruce Stewart, and gets the ball down for the try. A great try to Andrew Eddinghausen, and the Sharks are up now. They're trailing 7-6 with a kick to come right in front of the uprights, and there are 60 seconds left. Not that. There are 30 seconds left in the game. 79 minutes, 79 and a half minutes, and Eddinghausen scored. A quick tap by little Laurie Spina from that play the ball penalty has given the Sharks the try to win the game.